On May 16th before sunset, Archangel Michael says, a relative will try to involve you in their judgment. If you say yes, you share their consequence. Before the sun vanishes beyond the horizon on May 16th, a sacred warning is being delivered from the throne of divine justice. Archangel Michael, guardian of the chosen and sword-bearer of truth, has sent this message ahead of time, not to frighten you, but to prepare you. In the hours leading to sunset, a spiritual choice will present itself disguised as a familiar face. It will not arrive in the form of a stranger, nor cloaked in obvious danger. Instead, it will come from a voice you've known for years, a relative, bound to you by blood but no longer aligned with your destiny. They will speak in the language of guilt. It will reach into your heart, reminding you of shared pasts, childhood bonds, family obligations. But hidden within their invitation is a spiritual transference. What they carry is not just emotional weight, it is judgment. And if you agree, even with a silent nod, even with reluctant mercy, their consequence becomes yours. This is not an ordinary conversation you're about to have. It's not just another family drama or another appeal for hell. It's a moment calibrated in heaven's timeline, a divine test to see whether you have truly learned to separate soul ties from spiritual assignments. Archangel Michael says, you are not their sacrifice. You are not the offering for their karmic lesson. What they are walking through has been divinely appointed to bring them to repentance. But if you intervene, if you absorb their storm, the consequences that were never meant for you will fall upon your spirit. This is a season where heaven is separating the rescuers from the redeemed, the martyrs from the messengers. You are not called to rescue everyone, especially those who refuse to rescue themselves. And this relative, though loved, has made choices rooted in pride, rebellion, and hidden offenses. Now, their judgment is maturing, and they are looking for someone to share it with. But here is the truth. When judgment ripens, it seeks agreement. And the enemy knows he cannot touch you directly, so he uses familiarity as his bait. That is why this invitation will not look like danger. It will look like duty. But duty without discernment leads to entanglement. Archangel Michael warns you now, do not agree. Not in spirit. Not in word. Not in silence. Before May 16th's sunset, say no, not with cruelty, but with clarity. Say no, not with rebellion, but with reverence. Say no, not with fear, but with faith that heaven will fight on your behalf and theirs. The clock is ticking. The decision is sacred. And your response will define what enters your spiritual atmosphere for the rest of this season. Archangel Michael steps forward with fire in his voice and justice in his wings. He says this is not a moment to doubt what you feel. This is a moment to listen to what you've been discerning for weeks. You felt it approaching. That unease in your chest, the recurring dreams, the feeling that someone is coming with a request wrapped in desperation. This is not your imagination. This is divine forewarning. The Spirit of Truth is alerting you, because heaven always sends a signal before the enemy makes his move. And now, the signal is clear. Before sunset on May 16th, someone will approach you with emotional urgency. But heaven says this is not your assignment. You are being called to recognize the line between compassion and consequence. Archangel Michael says, you are loved by heaven, protected by divine fire, shielded by spiritual law. That means you are no longer allowed to say yes out of guilt. You are no longer permitted to carry burdens you did not create. You are no longer spiritually available to become someone else's escape route, especially not when that person had been repeatedly warned and refused to turn from their behavior. This is a time-sensitive alert. Not tomorrow, not next week. Before sunset on May 16th, your discernment will be tested. And Archangel Michael wants you to know you have permission to say no and still be righteous. Because in the spirit realm, agreement is powerful. When you agree, even silently, with someone's delusion, you become an accomplice to their deception. When you lend your presence, your energy, your words to their false narrative, you create spiritual access for consequences that are not yours. That's how transfer happens. That's how judgment spreads. That's how spiritual inheritance gets corrupted. And that is why heaven is sounding this alarm. This is not just about family. This is about boundaries. This is about alignment. This is about your next elevation not being delayed by misplaced loyalty. Let your response be firm. Let your spirit be sealed. Let your voice carry the authority of heaven itself. Archangel Michael says, you are not rejecting them. You are releasing them into the hands of divine justice. And that release, that refusal, that boundary will preserve your peace, protect your promise, and keep your soul untainted by what is not yours to carry. Because you were not born to inherit their judgment. You were born to fulfill your calling. Do not confuse the two. Type I do not agree in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5511 is now activated. Someone is already rehearsing their words. Even now, before the moment arrives, they are thinking about what to say, how to say it, and how to position themselves as the one in need, the one betrayed, the one burdened by circumstances they claim were beyond their control. But Archangel Michael says, it's a script. It's a performance cloaked in sincerity. And they are rehearsing it not because they seek truth, but because they seek your compliance. There is mystery in their motives and distortion in their intentions. On the surface, it may look like reconciliation, like a cry for help, but beneath it, a hidden agenda stirs. This person, this relative, has been walking in decisions that contradict divine alignment. And now that the weight is catching up, they're looking for a way to distribute the fallout. They're not just hoping you'll help, they're hoping you'll inherit the blame with them. Archangel Michael declares, a conversation is already unfolding behind your back, and it's laced with implication. Your name is being brought up, not in love but in convenience, not in respect but in desperation. Someone is telling their version of the story, writing timelines, deleting their rebellion, and painting themselves as the misunderstood one. And in their version, you are the key, the one who can validate them, shield them, or back them up. But here's the spiritual danger. Their version is not the truth. And if you agree to their side of the story, even to keep peace, even to avoid tension, you are agreeing with the lie. Archangel Michael says, your silence will not protect you this time. Your politeness will not preserve you. What's required now is spiritual clarity, not emotional confusion. This is why you felt so unsettled lately, why your sleep hath been interrupted, why your mind keeps drifting to that one person from your past. You're not imagining it, you're perceiving it in the spirit. The disruption has already begun, and while you've been sensing it, they've been plotting it. The call, the message, the visit, it's coming. And it's not random. It's intentional. Because spirits recognize light, and when someone is facing the consequences of their choices, they often try to attach themselves to the nearest source of purity. You are the source. You are the light. But you are not their scapegoat. You are not their shield. You are not the one who must carry the judgment they were warned about years ago. Archangel Michael says, You've been chosen because of your obedience, and they've been judged because of their defiance. That's the truth that stings. That's the truth they won't say aloud. Instead, they'll try to blur the lines. They'll remind you of the memories, the shared laughter, the family stories. They'll say things like, "You've always been there for me," or "You're the only one I can trust." And while the words sound sweet, the spirit behind them is strategic. It's a setup. It's a snare. It's an emotional bribe dressed as a cry for help. But help is not what they seek. What they seek is your spiritual participation in their consequences, so they don't have to face it alone. And that is why this moment is sacred. Because if you respond with guilt, you step into a judgment never meant for you. If you respond with blind loyalty, you inherit a storm that is not your harvest. Heaven is not asking you to abandon love. Heaven is asking you to discern what love looks like in this season. And sometimes love says no. Sometimes love steps away. Sometimes love watches someone fall so they can finally rise on their own. You are not abandoning them. You are refusing to absorb what God is using to transform them. Archangel Michael says, "Their cry is coming, but so is your discernment." You will feel the weight of their words, but let your spirit feel the truth that's hidden beneath them. Ask yourself, what are they not saying? What do they want me to carry? What happens if I agree? And when you hear the answers, stand firm in divine wisdom. Because you're not being tested in emotion, you're being tested in discernment. And heaven is watching your response. Type "I am protected" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 7733 is covering your name now. This is not about drama. This is not about family tension, or someone needing a favor, or an accidental mess that's spilled into your space. This is spiritual warfare, cloaked in familiarity. And Archangel Michael wants you to see it for what it truly is. You are not being invited into someone's emotional chaos. You are being tested at the soul level. This isn't personal, not in the way most think. It is spiritual. It is generational. It is karmic. And it is precise. The conflict being stirred is not just a moment of confusion. It is a battlefield. And heaven is watching not how well you love, but how wisely you guard the calling that's been placed on your life. Because here's the truth. Your light exposes what others try to hide. When you walk into the room, your presence disturbs hidden agreements. When you maintain peace, it convicts those who thrive on chaos. And when you stay aligned with truth, it unsettles those who've built comfort around lies. The one who is coming to you on May 16th, before the sun has set, is not just looking for empathy. They are looking for spiritual partnership, but not in the way you would hope. They are looking for someone to validate their avoidance of responsibility. And if you nod in agreement, if you offer your covering, if you speak words that suggest you'll stand with them no matter what, they will transfer their consequence to your field. Archangel Michael says, "Be not deceived. This is not just a disagreement or a misunderstanding. This is an invitation to spiritual misalignment. If you accept it, you delay your destiny. If you engage it, you stain your spiritual garments. And if you carry it, you welcome warfare into your atmosphere that was never assigned to you. You are the anointed one in your family line, the curse breaker, the cycle ender, the one marked by heaven to shift what generations before you tolerated. And this moment, this is one of those spiritual checkpoints. If you say yes to this relative's hidden request, you will be sowing into soil heaven told you to leave barren. It may feel cruel. It may feel cold. It may go against everything you were raised to believe about loyalty, family, and forgiveness. But Archangel Michael speaks with authority. You are not rejecting a person. You are rejecting a pattern. And that pattern has plagued your bloodline for too long. Emotional manipulation. Selective truth. Unspoken esthetation. Silent blame. You've seen it before. You've endured it before. And now, you're being tested to rise above it, not be drawn back into it. You are not cold-hearted. You are clear-minded. And that clarity is what is causing disruption in others who have benefited from your lack of boundaries. This is not just an argument. This is a war between the healed version of you and the one who used to give in, just to keep peace. But peace without truth is not peace, it's spiritual imprisonment. Archangel Michael says, your discernment is not cruelty, it is your consecration. You are being preserved. You are being refined. You are being aligned. And the invitation to fall back into old dynamics is the final test before your next elevation. Will you pass? Will you recognize that this is a setup to entangle you in another's judgment? Will you remember who you are and whose you are? You have come too far to lose spiritual ground over sympathy. You have grown too strong to let guilt undo the healing that took you years to earn. And you are too deeply rooted in truth to confuse pity with purpose. The angels are watching. The heavens are recording. And Archangel Michael stands beside you with a flaming sword, not to harm, but to cut through confusion. Let the fire separate what's divine from what's deceptive. Let it burn through illusion. Let it refine your resolve. You are the revelation your family didn't expect. You are the light their shadows react to. You are the answer they can't manipulate. You are the truth they hoped to silence. And this moment, this decision, will prove it. Type I am divinely aligned in the comments if you receive this message. Lesson code 4488 is surrounding your boundaries now. Archangel Michael declares that the window of spiritual interference is opening, and it will not remain open long. Before sunset on May 16th, a specific action will take place. A message will be sent. A phone will ring. A visit may occur. Or even just a silence that drags your spirit toward emotional responsibility. Whatever form it takes, know this: it is not random. It is not accidental. It hath been orchestrated, not by heaven, but by a spirit that wants you entangled in a web of consequence not meant for your path. You are not just being pulled into a situation. You are being targeted by manipulation disguised as kinship. And Archangel Michael says, this is your moment of alertness. This is your hour of vigilance. The person you love, the one you've stood by in other seasons, is about to make their move. But this time, their motivation is not restoration. It is avoidance. They are trying to redirect the impact of their spiritual accountability. They know something has been exposed. Something hidden. Something they've been covering up through denial, charm, or selective confession. But the energy around them is shifting. Their time of consequence is approaching, and rather than surrender to divine correction, they are seeking someone, you, to absorb it on their behalf. Archangel Michael warns, they may weep, they may beg, they may even act as if they are finally being honest. But the root of their cry is not repentance, it is panic. This is not about you turning your back. This is about you not turning your spirit over. Because every word you speak, every gesture you offer, every ounce of energy you invest carries spiritual authority. And in this sacred window before sunset, what you agree to becomes sealed in the spirit. That is why the action coming toward you is so specific. That is why it feels urgent. That is why you will be tempted to respond instantly, out of instinct, out of love, out of confusion. But Archangel Michael says, pause. Do not respond too quickly. Do not move from emotion. Move from discernment. Move from prayer. Move from the quiet strength of divine awareness. Because if you move too fast, you'll miss the manipulation behind the message. You'll misinterpret their plea as a breakthrough. But heaven sees deeper. Heaven sees that this person is not asking for help. You're asking for a shield, a scapegoat, a buffer between them and the fire they kindled. And if you step in, you step into the fire. You step into the storm meant to shake them awake. But that storm wasn't built for you. It wasn't designed for your refinement. You've already passed your tests. You've already surrendered your pride. You've already walked your own path of purification. Why would you now walk into a furnace meant for someone else? Archangel Michael says, they may accuse you of abandonment. They may say you've changed. They may stir others against you to guilt you into action. But this is not betrayal. This is divine separation. This is heaven shielding you from contamination. This is your guardian angel standing in front of you, blocking access to your peace, your elevation, your destiny. And you must let them. You must trust that letting go is sometimes the most sacred act of protection. You must believe that walking away from someone's crisis does not make you heartless. It makes you wise. Be prepared for confrontation. Be prepared for emotional warfare. Be prepared for sudden calls, unexpected visits, or urgent messages filled with dramatic tones. And when they come, do not react. Observe. Listen with your spirit, not just your ears. Sense the spirit behind the words. Ask yourself what is being left unsaid. Because Archangel Michael says this moment is not about who's right. It's about who remains aligned. And alignment requires that you do not share the consequence of another's rebellion. If this message resonates with you and you feel moved to support, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $20. Your kindness helps us bring more powerful content your way and ensures these divine messages continue reaching hearts that need them. Type "I will not carry their consequence" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 2200 has been assigned to shield your energy. Now comes the moment to shift your posture, not toward the problem, but toward divine protection. Archangel Michael speaks now not with warning, but with instruction. You have heard the whispers. You have sensed the approaching tension. You know the presence of the storm. But you must also know that heaven has already gone before you. You are not walking into this moment alone. You are being covered by legions of angels, wrapped in a cloak of clarity and positioned in a place of spiritual height. But to remain protected, you must follow heaven's guidance exactly, not approximately, not emotionally, but spiritually and with conviction. And the first command is this: stay grounded. Ground yourself, not in emotion, but in truth. Ground yourself not in past loyalty, but in present discernment. When that phone rings, when that message appears, when their voice trembles and the tears begin to fall, remain still. Still in spirit. Still in decision. Still in your assignment. You are not to engage in lengthy explanations. You are not to justify your distance. You are not to convince them that your silence is not rejection, because your silence is your strength. Your silence is your sword. Your silence is heaven's answer, especially when words would only tether you to what God is trying to release you from. This moment is not about debate. It's about discernment. You don't owe explanations to those who seek to manipulate clarity into confusion. You don't owe your spiritual peace to those who have misused your compassion before. Remember, this is not a call to be heartless. This is a call to be heavenly minded. This is not detachment from love. This is commitment to purpose. And your purpose is not to be a sponge for someone else's consequences. You were not created to absorb someone's delayed accountability. You were not formed in your mother's womb just to play the role of protector for the unrepentant. Archangel Michael says, do not defend yourself. Let your quiet be louder than any accusation. Let your boundaries speak more clearly than your explanations. Let heaven be your vindication. For even now, the Spirit is preparing to reveal truth, truth that does not require your defense, only your obedience. You must trust that heaven has seen what you cannot say, that God is working in spaces you do not have to step into, that spiritual justice does not require your participation, only your agreement with heaven's timing. You may feel the pull. You may hear the emotional strings being played, like a song you once danced to, but Archangel Michael says, do not return to that rhythm. You've learned too much. You've come too far. You've cried too many tears to now walk back into cycles that steal your breath and blur your vision. This person, this relative may not understand your silence, but it's not meant for them. It's meant for heaven. It is your sacrifice, your declaration, your refusal to co-sign dysfunction disguised as obligation. You are not wrong for protecting your soul. You are not wrong for choosing peace. You are not wrong for saying no. And if the voice of guilt starts to whisper, remind yourself that obedience is greater than sacrifice. You are not defying love. You are obeying truth. You are not rejecting someone. You are rejecting the transfer of their spiritual judgment. That is holy. That is sacred. That is required. So today, prepare your heart. Anchor your spirit. Decide now, before the call comes, what your response will be. Because when you respond from strength instead of emotion, the fire cannot touch you. The arrows cannot pierce you. The guilt cannot grip you. You stand in divine armor, and nothing sent to entangle you can find its hold. Archangel Michael reminds you, you are not weak. You are wise. You are not cold. You are covered. You are not passive. You are protected. Let them think what they will. Let them say what they must. But you stay grounded. You stay still. You stay covered. Type I am still and covered in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 6622 is shielding your spirit now. Now the tide turns. Now the Spirit lifts you. Now Archangel Michael speaks not from warning but from awakening. For you have not merely been enduring this moment, you have been rising through it. What the enemy hoped would trap you, heaven has used to temper you. What that relative meant to entangle you has now revealed something far greater. You have become unshakable. You are no longer who they thought you were. You are no longer the one who used to bend under pressure, retreat under guilt, or remain silent for the sake of harmony. That version of you is gone. That chapter is closed. That story is sealed. You are walking now in the truth of your divine identity, sealed by obedience, strengthened by wisdom, and elevated by discernment. And those who once misread your kindness as weakness are discovering that what they mistook for softness was spiritual strength in disguise. Archangel Michael says, you are no longer accessible to manipulation. You are no longer available for the roles they wrote for you in their brokenness. They may still see you as the old version, compliant, forgiving without boundaries, present without peace. But that image is no longer your reflection. A new you has risen. The true you has emerged. and the empowered you no longer fits the story they are trying to replay. This is your transformation. Not a moment of arrogance, but of alignment. Not a reaction of ego, but a restoration of identity. The Spirit is reaffirming what you already sensed. You've been appointed to stand apart, not be pulled in. You've been called to be the lighthouse, not the lifeboat. And there is a sacred difference. The lighthouse shines without chasing. It glows without justifying. It illuminates without interfering. You, beloved, are that light, and no amount of emotional chaos can dim it now. The storm you've weathered, the distance you've held, the peace you've protected, it was never weakness. It was strength refined in the fires of transformation. Out of the ashes of your past responses, a new form has emerged, and Archangel Michael stands beside you now, his wings extended, declaring, "They can't touch what God has sealed." Let that echo in your soul. They can't touch what God has sealed. Not your peace, not your purpose, not your spiritual position. No weapon formed against you shall prosper, not even the emotional weapons dressed as guilt, duty, or misplaced loyalty. They may not say it, but they feel it. The shift, the elevation, the authority in your voice, the clarity in your gaze. They don't know how to handle the fact that you're no longer afraid to say no, that you're no longer willing to rescue those who refuse to repent, that you've drawn a line not from pride, but from purpose. Archangel Michael says, you are rising now because you refuse to descend for them, and that decision is creating a ripple effect. It's cleansing your path. It's unlocking your next season. It's opening gates that were waiting for your alignment. So walk tall. Speak light. Move in power. Let your spirit carry the weight of heaven's favor. You are not held back by their confusion. You are not delayed by their judgments. You are elevated by your clarity. And that elevation is spiritual warfare won by stillness. You didn't need to fight back. You didn't need to explain. You simply stood. And now, heaven is standing with you. If this divine message has blessed you and you'd like to help support the continued creation of this spiritual guidance, consider giving a super thanks with contributions of up to $10. Your support helps us reach more souls with messages that matter. Thank you for walking this journey with us. Type "I am untouchable" and light in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 9901 has now wrapped itself around your breakthrough. And now, beloved, the veil begins to lift. The pressure you felt, the spiritual wrestling, the silence you chose, the boundaries you upheld, all of it was not in vain. Archangel Michael now speaks with assurance, with the finality of heaven's gavel, and with the sacred authority of divine timing. The test is almost complete. The judgment was never yours to carry, and because you refused to step into what wasn't assigned to you, the doors of blessing are beginning to open. What felt like delay was divine shielding. What looked like rejection was redirection. What sounded like emotional loss was, in truth, spiritual preservation. Before sunset on May 16th, the final part of this divine test will unfold. You may not hear an apology. You may not receive acknowledgement. You may not even see the fallout. But something will shift. Quietly. Profoundly. Spiritually. The one who tried to pull you in will find themselves facing what they attempted to escape. And you will find yourself untouched, unbothered, unshaken, because you stood in obedience, because you said no, not from a place of pride, but from a place of purity. Heaven honors that kind of decision. Archangel Michael says, The angels recorded your silence as strength and your refusal as righteousness. Someone will come forward, not necessarily to praise you, but to reveal what was hidden. A truth long buried will surface. A situation once twisted will suddenly clarify. What they thought was concealed is now being unveiled. Not by your effort, not by your defense, but by the hand of divine justice. Because when you remove yourself from someone else's spiritual consequences, heaven is free to act without interference. And now that you've removed your agreement, the light of truth is free to flow. Archangel Michael says, peace is arriving, but not through explanation, not through emotional closure, through divine intervention. Expect this shift to be unexpected. It may come in the form of sudden peace, a weight lifted, a burden gone, or it may arrive through another person, bringing information, confirmation, or restoration. Do not chase it. Do not search for it. Let it come. Let it find you in your stillness. Let it locate you in your alignment. Let it bless you in your silence. Because the blessing is not loud, it's intentional. And it's coming not because you fought for it, but because you refused to fight in a battle that wasn't yours. This is your prophetic reward. Not just protection, but promotion. Not just distance from the storm, but acceleration into purpose. And those who tried to tether you to their downfall will soon witness your rise. Not to gloat, not to shame them, but to show them what happens when someone chooses obedience over obligation, when someone chooses wisdom over sentiment, when someone chooses destiny over dysfunction. You are the living proof of heaven's strategy. You are the walking evidence of spiritual discernment. You are the manifestation of divine separation. And now, transformation. Archangel Michael declares, this is your unlocking moment. Expect divine favor to begin appearing in unusual places. Expect peace to become your dominant atmosphere. Expect people to start recognizing the authority you carry, the wisdom you walk in, the protection that surrounds you. You are not hidden anymore. You are not stuck in family dynamics. You are not entangled in emotional guilt. You are free. And that freedom is now making room for restoration, creativity, provision, and alignment. Your delay was protection. Your silence was strategy. And your boundaries became the gate through which heaven now delivers your reward. So, as the sun lowers on May 16th, take a deep breath. You passed the test. You preserved your peace. You protected your purpose. And now, the reward is on its way, not in loud celebration, but in silent unfolding. Watch what comes next. Type I receive my release and rise in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1239 is being written across your new season. And now, beloved, the final light of this message draws near. But even as the revelation settles into your spirit, there is still one more thing heaven is requiring of you, a response. Not a response to them. Not a response to the person who tried to draw you into their storm, but a spiritual response to God, to alignment, to clarity, to truth. Archangel Michael says this clearly: what you affirm today determines what you walk in tomorrow. The words you speak are not just emotional declarations, they are activators of destiny. They seal you into the atmosphere of your next season. They summon angels into motion. They declare to heaven and hell like, I choose divine alignment. This is not the time to hesitate. This is the time to speak. This is the time to stand tall in spirit, not with arrogance but with sacred assurance. You must respond to this moment with a declaration that heaven can echo. You must speak in the language of spiritual confidence, Say it aloud. Say it in the comments. Say it in prayer. Say it until your soul believes it. I will not carry what does not belong to me. I will not agree with another's judgment. I will not sacrifice my peace for the sake of their chaos. I am chosen. I am covered. I am clean. Let every syllable vibrate in your atmosphere. Let every word drive darkness back. Your response is not just symbolic, it's strategic. In the realm of the spirit, silence can sometimes be interpreted as consent. That's why you're being invited now to declare your boundaries before all things unseen. This declaration activates your covering. It fortifies your armor. It seals the decision you've made in your heart and echoes it through the heavens. And more than anything, it draws a line, a sacred, non-negotiable, unshakable line between your destiny and the consequences that were never yours to carry. Speak now, and all of heaven will recognize your voice. Archangel Michael reminds you, this is how victory is sealed, not in combat, but in confession. Not by what you destroy, but by what you declare. And you have been given the language of life. Use it. You have been given the voice of clarity. Wield it. You have been given the mantle of spiritual authority. Stand in it. Speak as one who knows that your silence is no longer a currency you trade for peace. Your words now belong to purpose. And now, as this message closes, Archangel Michael draws his sword, not in anger, but in honor. He raises it toward your name and proclaims, they tried to involve you in judgment, but you walked away covered in light. They tried to blur the line, but you sharpened it with truth. They tried to make you feel responsible, but you answered to a higher calling. And now, their judgment is theirs alone, and your reward is yours alone. You are not a victim. You are the revelation. You are not their protection. You are the preserved. You are not abandoned. You are ascending. You are not their shield. You are heaven's messenger. And while they misread your silence, heaven recorded it as strength. While they twisted your boundaries, God celebrated your clarity. While they gossiped, you grew. While they pulled, you stood. And now, because you refused to be moved, you are about to be elevated. So lift your head. Open your heart. The season is shifting. The gates are parting. And your name is being written across the scrolls of breakthrough. You are walking into your next season not heavy, but holy. Not confused, but clear. Not broken, but blessed. Type I am untouched and elevated in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 5555 is now encoded into your divine path. If this final word stirred something in you, if it brought clarity, strength, or healing, consider supporting with a super thanks of up to $50. Your blessing helps us create more divine messages like this, and your generosity fuels our mission to awaken, empower, and elevate souls across the world. Thank you for walking in light with us.